Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds, hang out with these nerds.
Nate the Nerdarch.
Nerdarch is dead.
Today we're delving into the Critter Companion.
Jump down the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy, the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
Hey guys, welcome to this sponsored video for the Critter Compendium by author Tobias Beis. Is that how you would say?
I would think so.
I believe this is his first product, and it is up in the DMs Guild for purchase. Again, this is a sponsored video. You can find a link in the description below to check this product out. It retails at $15 over there for the PDF.
And it's a 269-page monster manual for 5th edition.
It is. So, we over on the nerdarchy.com website, you can check out the written article and review by Megan Miller and Doug Viak.
So, all right. I don't know where we want to start first.
Okay, overview. 269 pages, 135 entries or so, 250 stat blocks, a lot of stat blocks. That is basically the bulk of the book. Then you go into the appendices, which is miscellaneous creatures, skeletons and zombies, elementals, and templates. There's also like 2 pages, couple pages where it's basically NPC stats for monsters. So if you wanted to use them with your NPC classes from Volo's Guide or the Monster Manual to kind of spec them out and change them. It's very much like the table that's in the DMG. There's also a small section on weapons as well. And so there's a lot of good stuff in this book. There's some bad stuff in this book. It's all over the place.
So like in the monster weapons, there's choice for bolos or like a double pick. So there's only a handful there, but I think it's cool. Some people might want some extra weapon options, and they spell it out for you.
Well, also too, like if you fight the monster, and what are the players going to want to do? They're going to want to pick them up and use them. So yeah, those weapons from them. So that part is cool.
Right.
So so we each kind of like grabbed the section and looked it over, and we're going to chime in and give you our thoughts on them.
Right. Now the website broke it down. They broke it into 3 sections of the good, the bad, and the ugly. Do we want to kind of do the same thing, or do we want to kind of just talk about different things and what our opinions were of those examples?
I think we're just going to babble. That's what we do.
Check.
All right. So I'm going to say the artwork is in all sections of the good, the bad, and the ugly. There is some stuff in here that is designed, done in its entirety by the author, Tobias, and there's some stuff in here that is the open license artwork in the DM's Guild.
Well, that being said, we should probably mention that the way the project came about was Tobias wanted to take all of the art in the DM's Guild that was monsters and turn them into monster entries, stat blocks. So that was like the premise for it. And that's what this project grew from. And then he started adding his own original monsters as well as the ones that are mixed in there.
So I would say that this has a mixture of really fantastic artwork that we've been seeing for years, as well as some artwork that, in my personal opinion, the book would be better had it just been left out. Like there's literally one spot where there's a line drawing of a chicken.
Profile drawing.
Yeah, and it's not like an amazing, fantastic chicken.
It's just a quick profile sketch. Everyone knows what a chicken looks like. I don't think there was any reason to put that in.
We could have put another stat block in that spot, in all honesty. But that being said, like the beast section is actually kind of like a highlight. Now there is definitely a good, bad, and ugly to the beast section, to the creature section. Mm-hmm. If you're a druid, this is an awesome section. If you want a more variety for familiars, awesome section. It does fill out some of those places where the CRs are kind of skimpy for a druid looking for something to wild shape into. It does give you like even bigger versions of even some of the giant monsters, which is kind of cool. I like that. But at the same time, I felt like there were some monsters in there that didn't need to be there, or they deserved their own entry.
Right, like you thought the Barghest should have been in the actual core part of the book, not into just I felt like tossing it here.
Yeah, there was the Lesser Barghest was one. There was something else that was an aberration, and I just feel like because it was an aberration, it shouldn't be there. There was an undead gravehound that maybe should have got his own section.
And there were constructs in there as well. Like,
And there was an Iron Defender from Eberron as well that could have gotten its own section as well, yeah.
so like those things, they really do need a proper write-up so that you get a full description, a full reason for why players would be encountering those, and give it its just desserts, if you will.
And then there was that giant water bear, which is considered a beast, but it had so many immunities and resistances. And unless you know what a water bear actually is, it's the nickname for a tardigrade, which is like a really tiny, tiny creature that can survive the vacuum of space and everything like that. I mean, that would have been cool to include that in the description, rather than it's in one of the powers that it can survive all kinds of stuff. But some kind of description of what it looks like, anything would have been good. And then,
Now,
like,
you know this because of your science background.
yeah, I looked at them and researched them a bit. Yeah.
And whereas like I look at it as, oh, giant water bear, I'm honestly thinking like, is this some kind of aquatic bear? Like that's honestly what I'm thinking when I look at it.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, and then it had this weird power that would like, oh, if it's in a harmful place, it will hibernate essentially. Yeah, and maybe that's where the bear comes from in the name. I don't know, but that being said, like it's just a stat block, so you don't understand what it is. So that would have been better served with its own entry. And if it's the thing that you're thinking of, then absolutely, because I think the layperson, for the most part, is going to be like, I don't know what that is.
Now, maybe there's, in the sect that he plays with,
They're much
D&D
smarter
heads
than us.
are a lot more intelligent.
They just might all have that knowledge. Like, oh, we got this is our 8th grade book report. We all know what a water bear is.
To me, I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a small thing because it's one stat block out of the 200 and some.
Right. So all right, let's go on to some positive things here, because I don't want this to feel like that this is a bad product in any way, shape, or form. This is something that I would love to actually have a printed copy at the table, because I don't game electronically. So I love that there is a plethora of fiendish options, and they're all over the charts because everybody loves fighting demons and that kind of stuff, as well as there are 5 new dragon types. So I thought the artwork on a lot of the fiends and all of the dragons really stood out. I loved all of the options that you can do with that kind of stuff. I don't know whether you guys got into any of that.
I know the staff writers really loved the dragon section.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were huge fans of that. And the art as well, which I'm going to periodically throw up different images throughout this video for you guys to take a look at. It may or may not coincide with what we're talking about at the time, but Tobias had offered up a bunch of art for us to share with you guys.
Now the only thing that I would say was a problem with the dragons was the time dragon. One of the breath weapons, because each of the dragons had 2 breath weapon options, and when you use one, it would use your breath weapon until it recharged, and like all of them, they recharge on a 5/6. But the time dragon, literally, if you failed your saving throw, which if you're going against the ancient was really obnoxiously high, for a lot of high level players, you would be out of sync of time until you pass your save or until 10 rounds goes by. Now, the high saving throw is not a problem because it's really in line with other dragons that are in the monster manual. It was a DC 24. But the problem that I feel
Save or suck.
it's save or suck. If you fail that saving throw until you pass or until you wait that 10 rounds, you are forcing a player to be non-present in the game. And I think that breaks away from the typical mechanics of 5th edition. So if I were to be using that dragon in a game, I would just not use that breath weapon option.
No, I said, it could always be that it ages you tremendously and you die. So, there's the other way. And, I don't know. It stinks because you're, like, removed from the combat. But, hold in person, magic sleep, all the kinds of different attacks, those kind of things can also take you out of the game for a while. So, but it is a really tough one to pass, as well as it
Wisdom
does.
save of a DC 24.
Yeah.
You know, we kind of mathed it out. If you have a 20 wisdom and are proficient in that saving throw, you still need a 13.
Which that's not too bad because you're going to get that. You're going to get out of that in a round or two, most likely. Not necessarily.
You're the fighter.
You're boned.
You've got your 10 in wisdom. You're not proficient. You need a natural 20 to pass that saving throw.
Hey, after 10 rounds, it stops anyway, right?
Yes, and meanwhile,
Listen.
Dead.
We all know as gamers we're going to eat pizza, right? Someone's got to go get it. Just drop the time dragon, and whoever gets out of phase, they're going to go get the pizza.
Right.
Now, is that a Mass Effect?
So that one actually hits a 90-foot cone. So it's very, very possible that when you use that on the party, half of them disappear.
You know what the best outcome is? Everybody disappears. It'd be like, and the dragon decides to leave or something.
You're the sixth guy, and you're like rolling, and like everyone else failed.
I
choose to fail.
You're using inspiration to re-roll your nat 20.
I don't have to choose the high one, right?
Yeah.
It does say choose the better of the two. So
Son of a...
would better of the two be the one that fails?
In this case, yes, situationally.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, the worst thing would be all right, you're the lone player that survived, and now you got to solo the dragon.
Yeah. I surrender. So the Time Dragon is one of the cosmic dragons. And one of the really cool things is the sidebar in this section, though. And that does give you basically the breakdown of, hey, here's your breath weapon and abilities if you're a Dragonborn or if you're a half dragon for the template. So I actually think that's a really cool add to the book. And there's a bunch of sidebars throughout the book that are kind of like that. So that attention to detail from Tobias is really cool.
Absolutely. So I think, even in the article that Megan and Doug wrote, Megan's like, oh, I can't wait to play Avoid Dragonborn. So it's pretty cool.
You would, Megan. You would.
I really liked all the additional spellcaster monsters in here. Between the larval mage, you had the Merscarab, which is kind of like the larval mage, except it goes around eating fake creatures and making more of itself, and it's like a scarab swarm. And then there's the Grisgold, which is the monstrous phylactery, which is like all the Lich's treasure. When the Lich gets defeated, it all hops onto this phylactery, and it like goes around and stomps your face. So pretty awesome.
There's nothing like the treasure pile after winning. Stand up and say, you know what? You haven't won yet. I'll go kick your ass.
I don't think so. It kicks you in the face.
And there's the more benign spellweavers. So it's a good mix of spellcasting might in there.
You loved spellweavers from back in the day. So
I really.
It's really cool to see them out here.
Now they have Shardmind, which is one of the things I noticed, and I was looking at it and I was like, well, where does it say how you can play one? And I don't.
It doesn't.
It doesn't. So it's kind of like they have
Shardmind. It is a monster book, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it's not player book.
Sometimes they say on the side this monster can be played as a player race.
Now, the Shardmind might actually be included in that NPC section.
Oh, I didn't see it there.
I don't know if it was for sure or not, but even still, that's still not for players. That is for the dungeon master to, basically tailor his NPC class or NPC entries in the back of Volo's Guide or the Monster Manual.
So one of my favorite creatures in here, artwork wise, was the Harez. It's a huge undead demon, and it looks like a combination between a Drider and a Minotaur. It is just this crazy thing, and it's of course got all the spidery things of web walking and that kind of stuff. But then once you actually start attacking it, weapons and things stick to it. So you got to actually make saving throws, or your weapons are attached to the darn thing.
That reminds me of AD&D when you would kill the Draconians and they turn to stone with your weapon in them. Such a pain in the ass.
So I thought that was really cool. I was like, all right, I need to at some point in time use this thing.
So I found one of the tough things too for me was like distinguishing between monsters of old and Tobias's own creations. Mm-hmm. And then I imagine some of them might just be art assets that really didn't have anything attached to it. You know, there was definitely a lot of old monsters that if you're looking for them and you can't find them anywhere else, you know, they very well may be in this book for you to check out.
I agree. You know, Nate was talking off camera about how excited he was to see the Athach, the 3-armed ogre. I thought that was a neat addition. I like seeing all the different lizard folk options that were, you know, missing previously. You know, sun scale and black scale. I enjoy, and poison dart, poison dusk.
Something.
Poison something.
So like the lizard folk are always a fun option in my games. So I was like, well, yeah, I've got them.
I see on your list, Nate, you have the Gray Render. That was always
Oh,
a
yeah.
cool one from third edition.
That one of my favorite.
You know, the Vor, that's another really wild, crazy, trippy looking monster that is in there. The Sioux Monster was another one from AD&D, which was very Gygaxian and very weird. It's been re-envisioned a little bit in this one, where it looks more like a mandrill or baboon with a crazy prehensile tail, where in previous editions, the Sioux Monster was actually more like, it was a weird cross between a reptile and a simian, but then it had like this fifth appendage that had a claw on it, and it, the core of the monster was, though, it was all about hunting and eating psionic creatures, which, you know, he kept that part of it and just visually changed it a little bit. Looks pretty cool.
So I came across a creature, you know, called a Cleric or something along those lines. This is another fiend. I spent a lot of time with fiends and dragons, unfortunately, and I did have one problem with one of the aspects of this thing. Now, it's a legendary creature. It's a challenge 21. It's supposed to be able to put up a fight. Armor of 20, 337 hit points. This is a beast to bring down. But one of its abilities is Vorpal Pincer. On a critical hit, the pincer decapitates the target and it dies. No saving throw, no, you know, collect $200, you don't pass go, none of it. So I think with this particular ability, I think it really breaks the mechanics of 5th edition. There's not a whole lot of save or suck. There should be a saving throw, and usually there's 2 saving throws. So like you could literally, all right, you have this Vorpal Pincher, no problem. You make attack. If it crits, they get a Constitution saving throw. Give it a high DC. If they fail that saving throw, they're on the ground incapacitated. If they fail the next saving throw, on their next round, then they die. That falls more in line with the way 5th edition mechanics go. I think this one is just a bit.
The 5th edition, there's 2 ways for something really bad to happen: fail twice, or fail by 5. Has been the mechanic that I've seen, and I like those as kind of being a bridge between save and suck, and still, you know, still having something really bad happen.
So with the 2 saves, that gives someone a round to finagle. How is that character going to stay alive? And literally in that time, there could be that character is incapacitated. They can't do anything. So it's fine. You know, that's how I would rule that particular one.
Devil's Advocate, it's like a legendary creature. It's not like you're going to randomly roll up on it. You're probably hunting for it, or you're fighting a god, and this is like the doorman. So,
well, that being said, though, that makes it kind of worse in some ways, because more than likely that character that's getting dropped in one hit is a 20th level character.
that's true. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
120 and you're dead, yeah.
Yeah, like, wow. 20 levels and taken out by 1 roll. So that's brutal. So that is a little piece of design that could use a little tweaking.
Now, on the plus side of, you know, demons, is there's a whole page on abyssal graphs. And I read through this, and it's like, wow, there are so many fun things that you could do with this. If you remember, there were in 3rd edition, there were Warforged things that you could build onto your Warforged using feats. And this kind of mimics a bunch of those.
Well, there was graphs in 3rd edition.
Okay.
In the later monster manuals, they actually introduced a bunch of different graphs. And in Eberron Setting also introduced symbiotes that worked very similar to graphs, except for they were better in the sense that I don't think you generally had to remove any body parts.
Right. So here, it's kind of cool. You got an ear, a jaw, skin, wings, eyes, arms, legs, tails. It's
So everything
fun.
you would normally have plus some extra bits, bobs and bits that you can add on to. So they basically become like magic items. So do they require attunement or anything like that?
It does not appear that they require any kind of attunement other than just you have to sacrifice that particular appendage.
What part of your butt do you have to lose for the tail?
But
Or the cheek?
once you have a graft, if it's visible, you have disadvantage on any charisma check made with someone who's not fiendish.
I could see that. But cultists love you. on the other
I
side.
think tieflings would also like you because you're a distraction from theirs. All of them.
So I think you might be able to well, let me hide this here and hide this there, or use some illusion magic. But I don't know. I think this stuff is pretty darn awesome.
That's the good stuff. So also there is a whole template section.
Yes, and the great part about the templates, and I'm actually going to disagree with staff writer Doug and Megan on the website, where they're like, I don't need the templates, I can do this or I can do that. The template section that Tobias came up with in this particular book totally matches with the style of 5th edition, where it's just add these things to your creature. There's no 3rd edition mechanics of we're going to add 14 billion to your stats and we're going to layer on all of these extra things. It's like, no, you want to make an elemental creature? Here, give them these resistances and off you go.
Yeah, they're just tiny tweaks.
Tiny tweaks, and you can reflavor your monsters pretty easily without really upping the power game of them at all.
Yugoloths? Do you like Yugoloths? Because there's a ton of loot Yugoloths in this book, which we get a small section of those in the monster manual, but this greatly expands upon those. It brings back all the ones from previous editions and puts them conveniently in one spot for you.
On top of Yugoloth, there's also Oberiths and all different types of them, including rules for using them as a warlock patron. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Now, when I read the article that Doug and Megan did, I read the whole section about, oh, this is cool, we got Oberiths. I don't ever remember seeing them in previous editions. Do you guys remember where they came from? Or...
It's because you just don't love Illithids enough.
Yeah, they're like elder beings of
gone wrong.
Yeah.
They're Illithids gone bad.
They
really.
hang out in like the cold, nasty parts of the abyss.
I guess I just haven't done enough Underdark research.
Yeah.
Maybe next time. But that being said, like in AD&D 2nd edition, there was a whole book for like the holders. There was a whole book for Illithids, and they get into a lot of detail in those books as well.
Nice.
And another cool thing that I liked was the Mimic section. They have everything from Mirror Mimic to an entire tower that you can take part in fighting inside it, and the rules for how that all works.
The Wandering Tower Mimic is pretty cool, and it actually goes and does a whole sidebar on how to properly use mimics so that you don't just assail your players with them all the time, and then they become untrustworthy of everything. And it's like, oh god, Twitch, it's a chest. Oh my god, run away, run away.
It's a table. It's a chair. It's an inn.
Yeah. Well, one of the good things in this book too is there's a lot of greater and lesser versions of monsters. Like, it's not necessarily termed that way, but like there is a ton more of elemental options than there were previously, so that you can do that. It's the same thing with the animals, which I really like that. Creature power, which I kind of touched on that already. There's where else does it do that same kind of thing? I feel like there was another section.
Little augmentations. There's skeletal and zombies. They do a whole list of different ones.
Yeah, I think he went a little bit crazy with the skeletons and zombies. I would have liked to see. I would get rid of that whole section and just take choice monsters from it and put them back in.
Right.
And maybe have done some different monsters than that.
Yeah, I think that part was a little overpopulated with options, but I do agree that the elementals, they were a fabulous addition to the book. A whole new, as I said, whole new sections of fiends and dragons was great. A whole bunch of Yugoloths, and I mean even some of the humanoids. There's some scattering of levels of, oh, you have this and you have that. So it's pretty darn cool in my opinion.
Norker, they got Norkers.
And there's even some things that, because he started this whole process while or before Volo's guide came out, So there's even some crib notes of, hey, you want to use this guy, you can go check this out. Even puts the page number in, which I thought was pretty classy.
Yeah, on some of also some of the things too give you a different version of a monster that may have been done in Volo's guide, so you could kind of pick and choose which one fits your needs better as well. I mean, the book does suffer from the fact that I believe he was working on it, probably before Volo's was announced, and then it was announced, and you still don't know exactly what's coming and what's going to be in there. So there's a little bit of overlap, but there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah, Doug calls out the elder cap, the red cap.
Yeah.
And there's a red cap in Volo's guide. There's a red cap in Tome of Beasts, which I think they're very different from each other there. And then there's a elder red cap in the Critter Compendium.
So you have many red caps to choose from now, spread across many different sources.
And I actually, used my own version of red caps in my game. So
Right, because Ted needed a 5th version of red cap.
I wanted them to be more dwarven.
Nice. So, oh yeah, yours were based more off of the Prowies from Corona.
Yeah.
The Corona series. So with that, guys, is a product for you to check out, DM's Guild. You can see the link in the description below. Go check out the article by Doug and Megan. Also, more information there. You can check that out as well. Also, there's another video on Dawnforge Cast. I'll try and remember to put the link to that in the description as well. So you guys can have all the information you want when you decide to make this purchase or not to make this purchase. With that, guys, when you're down there, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
You can check out funny memes over on Facebook.
Or you can tweet at us at Nerdarchy.
So until next time.
Stay nerdy.